Hello, I'm MC2, and it's Tuesday night. This is part 3 of a 12-hour marathon. And because it's between Christmas and New Year's, and what else do you have to do? Nothing but watch this. And if you have something better to do, go do it right now. But I've got, this is the panel discussion. And at the moment, I've got two, let me fix this. Hold on here. We've got, oh, not that. We've got 3. They're coming in. I've got to pick the right. Hold on. There it is. There's the right one. We've got welcome everybody. We got Planner Walk. We've got Bryant Myers, and we've got the industrial nerd from the last one, who was not actually a very good Poe.
Yeah, but, he was taking the flat Earth position, right? Was I mistaken?
Yeah, and
I'm just kidding.
All right, my evaluation of your Poeing, you get an F-.
Okay, I wasn't trying to prove a flat Earth. Just the Earth technically is not a sphere. That is all.
Okay, fair enough.
Which being pedantic, yes. Anyway, Planar Walk and Bryant and Planar Walk. Have you spoken before? Meet each other.
Hello there, sir. I'm definitely seen a couple of your videos. Great work. I'm a little newer to the scene.
G'day, mate. Threw a shrimp on the barbie earlier so that we don't have to eat any kiwis. Hoi hoi.
I just had a kiwi meme I was going to share with kiwi birds like eating kiwi fruit. It was kind of a cool little meme. You ever see that one? 2 little kiwi birds like sucking on kiwi fruit.
I think I have actually, or something similar.
Yeah.
I've seen one where a kiwi was cut open and inside is kiwi fruit. Yeah.
And there were 2 kiwi birds eating the kiwi fruit. Kind of little, but what was this panel? What were we going to talk about here? Are you going to, I mean, I had a little something.
Nothing specific.
Because we've been kind of on the relativity train, it seems.
Oh, yes.
We just kind of go where the flat Earth movement takes us, right? And it seems like it's a train that they don't understand what relative motion is between the train and the tracks. I mean, so I put together a couple little funny videos of Whitsett in case we wanted to kind of fall back on something.
Let's do it. If you're ready.
Have you thought about doing any relativity videos? Is that on your radar? Since it's kind of a big deal right now with Whitsett and Globe Busters and.
A little bit, but I think I'm not sure, but FTFE recently looked a lot into relativity, I think.
Oh yeah, he has, definitely. He's putting together something. But Whitsett's still emailing me. He's just not relenting his position. He's got his feet like dug in on that things contract in our frame, but we can't measure it.
You think about that. He is the only person in the entire world that thinks that relativity says the things that he thinks it says, including Einstein disagrees with him. But Whitsett thinks he's smarter than Einstein and understands relativity better than Einstein. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's, so I don't know. I mean, I'm happy to go with the flow here with what you kind of wanted to talk about, MC, but I just had a few things prepared just in case we.
Yeah. Let's
have
a look at that.
Because if you jump on Discord tonight, which you are going to,
in less than 2 hours,
that this is going to come up. So I was kind of thinking this is like a court of law, right? And I wanted to present some evidence evidence in supporting that Whitsett doesn't understand relativity. So I have 4 pieces of evidence, and the last one is the best. So I kind of saved the last for best. And some people may have already seen this, but I think it's kind of just worth kind of throwing it out there. Because this is important, right? Because he claims to school us on relativity.
Yeah.
So when we can show how clearly he doesn't understand it, then it puts him in a weaker position to try to school us Globers on relativity when he doesn't know, not to spoil the fun here, but they're just short little clips. And the second one, we don't have to watch the whole thing. You can kind of fast forward to the end.
Do you want to share?
I sent you the link.
Oh, okay.
Because I figured it would be easier for you to do the screen magic.
Sure. All right. I'll work on that.
And it's kind of just for those, I'm sure most people that have like watched FTFE last night with Whitsett debating, it's pretty clear Whitsett's position. He thinks that things do contract in our frame, but we can't measure it. And because of this, see, this is why is he saying all this? Because he says that the Michelson-Morley experiment, that the arm contracted, but it couldn't be measured because the ruler or whatever's measuring device contracts with it, right? So Whitsett claims that Einstein came along and used Lorentz's formula to save the heliocentric model, because of course he takes the stationary Earth position, right? So it's almost like, well, isn't that convenient, right? That this null result came about. And, oh, isn't it convenient that Einstein says that the arms contract, but we can't measure it? Therefore, this is how he saved the heliocentric model, right? To say, well, we are going around the sun, but because, you know, but we really aren't, because it's just all the smoke and mirrors that Einstein did to make kind of this contraction that nobody can ever test, right?
As if anybody was actually sitting around saying, "Oh, we have to save the heliocentric model." No,
right. No.
People didn't. None of them were like, "Oh, well, maybe the Earth is flat." None of them thought that. That wasn't anything even remotely possible. It's completely impossible.
Yeah. And then he thinks that the Michelson-Morley experiment was supposed to measure the orbit of the Earth around the sun. And again, it's not.
That wasn't.
It wasn't set up for that. It was set up for, you know, measuring relative linear velocity between the, you know, speed of light and the background ether wind, right, going in both directions. It wasn't ever designed for rotational motion or measuring a velocity. There is no instrument that can measure velocity. I mean, you would probably be a millionaire if you could come up with an instrument that could measure constant velocity.
Yeah, without an external reference.
Without I'm just saying an instrument. Yeah, exactly. There is no apparatus that can measure constant velocity, because it's the same as being at rest. That's what relativity really means, right? That the laws of physics are the same in all reference frames, because there is no difference between constant motion, you know, linear motion, and being at rest. And Newton's laws of inertia, you know, a body in motion stays in motion, a body at rest stays in rest, hold an inertial reference frame, hence the word inertial reference frame, right? Because there's no difference between a moving, you know, constant velocity and being at rest. So you can't, the Michelson-Morley apparatus could never have measured the Earth going around the sun, because the Earth is on a geodesic, you know, in free fall around the sun, right? So we're in.
Well, nothing can measure linear velocity.
Yeah. But even if you say, well, orbital, well, again, it wasn't even designed for that anyway, for any type of spinning.
All right, I've got the videos ready. I see 4 of them.
Yeah, the first one just sets the stage. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Before I do that, RT96 says Kiwi Birds, the best song by the Blinking Yellow Supergiants. Never heard that one. And then, and for reference, this guy's a Kiwi right here.
Yes.
What's that
type that you can eat though?
What's that thing that's out the back of your house that you put your barbecue on to grill the shrimps on?
A porch?
Nope, not that one. The other word for it.
Oh.
Starts with a D.
Backyard?
It starts with a D.
Oh, you mean a deck?
Oh.
Did you say a Porsche or a porch?
He worked really hard to pronounce that E like an E instead of a long I. Or an I. All right, Industrial Nerd, thank you very much. Gifted 1 membership to somebody, so thank you for that.
That is this is my first time gifting. That is for Skeptic, the person who guessed the flat earther's favorite musical note. So I was trying to figure that out.
All right. So how does that work then?
I don't know. That's why I
see it says
buttons. I'm like, yes, that's what I want to do. I want to gift this to somebody. I was expecting another option.
It says KMC was gifted a membership. Somebody sniped it.
I don't know how that works. Well, I'll throw another gift out, and hopefully it gets to Skeptic.
All right, Skeptic. Hold on, wait. Before you do it, Skeptic, you need to be here. You need to be here. Say something in the chat, and then everybody. It's for Skeptic. All right. Let me. I'll pull this up. We've got the videos here, and it starts with "Math Sucks" by Whitsett.
Yeah, this is a quick one. So, because again,
but I don't do it.
Go ahead.
All right, here we go. There we go.
but I don't do it. I think math sucks. I think it's like it's such a way to get lost in the weeds and stuff, right?
Do you know?
So
He
I
does.
caught I caught that little gem during one of the Globebusters roundtables, and it's for special relativity is a heavy mathematical theory. It's very heavily mathematically based, and he's schooling us on relativity and saying he thinks math sucks, and he doesn't do it. He even says he doesn't do it, admittingly, which kind of leads into the next little clip.
Well, and Dearth said that Whitsett is the math guy. Just keep that in mind. We should find that one. Throw that in there along with him saying math sucks. All right, here's the next one.
Do you
The
know
next one you
the
could-
equation for length contraction? What's it?
Instead of you detracting, will you respond to the actual
I'm not.
point that you
I
have
am.
to
This
believe
is.
that's
Okay,
time?
okay, stop.
Yeah, you got
dancing
gotchas.
around.
You're not going to
asking
give
you-
me.
I'm
I'm not
asking
going to
you
play your
specific
game.
questions.
Hey, as soon as you address my actual points instead of
I
diverting
am
with
addressing
little
your point.
gotchas,
I am
pretending that
addressing
you-
your point. If you let me get there, the equation is L equals LO times the square root of 1 minus V squared, which is the V is the velocity of the object,
Yeah.
over C squared, which is the speed of light. I didn't
Wrong.
read that off of anything. I studied
wrong.
that earlier and paid attention to it.
You're wrong. You said it wrong.
No, I didn't.
Uh-oh. You
Which
just
bit
said
did I
V
say
squared
wrong?
over C squared?
V squared over C squared, yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Yep, V squared over C squared.
Pretty sure it's V squared times C squared.
Oh my gosh.
Pretty sure it's V squared times C squared.
No.
And
I'm
the
assuming
funny
that the
thing,
max.
All right,
wait,
go
wait,
ahead.
don't go. The funny thing is everybody at home can Google length contraction formula. Just go to Google and you can see what Whitsett was doing. Because when you Google length contraction formula, what you're going to see is an unformatted version of the equation come up with no divided sign under the V squared divided by C squared. So it's just V squared times C squared in the Google search result. So Whitsett was literally just Googling it as this was happening. And he's reading the unformatted version of the equation, which was of course wrong. And of course, if he knew anything about dimensional analysis, he would see that V squared times C squared as units of velocity to the 4th power. And it doesn't make any sense. You'd have a negative imaginary number, like when you do the square root of all that, right? It's just a total nonsensical, but it's just clear he doesn't understand relativity. And why this is important is that he wasn't asked to recall the formula from memory. He was just asked to FTFE said the formula. All he had to do is recognize it or not, right? So he couldn't even recognize it, and I wouldn't hold this against anybody that doesn't understand relativity, but this is now several weeks into him schooling us on relativity when this happened, right? So his big argument is length contraction. That's like the cornerstone of his argument. And he can't even recognize the formula, let alone, recite it or use it. And I mean, go ahead.
When it came to, because I saw a debate recently with FTFE, not against Whitsett, but a Discord server.
Yeah.
And their arguments was really weird to me. The argument about relativity seemed to be that you cannot, it was something about you cannot measure the length contraction of something because you're in the same reference frame as it. It's like, no, that's not how it works at all.
Not how it works. Exactly.
It's relative velocity to you, basically. And that's...
Yeah, it's relative, it's non-co-moving frame. So, and the thing about this formula, I don't know if can you pull the formula up? I don't, because the answer is clear as day right there for Whitsett to see. Because when you understand what V is in that formula, which is the relative velocity between two moving frames, right? Let's say, a fast rocket ship and you are, so you're moving relative to another frame. You only see the length contraction from your frame to the other frame, the non-co-moving frame. There is no length contraction in your motion because you can be moving at any, like you could have 10 rocket ships go past you at different speeds, right? And they would all see different length contractions. So if the length contraction was in your frame, but you can't detect it, then length contraction relative to what? It's always relative to some other moving frame. And depending on how that frame is moving, they're going to see a different contraction. But in your own frame, in that equation, V equals 0. right? So you plug V equals 0, you get L equals L naught. I mean, it's as plain as day right there. When there's no relative velocity between you and the Michelson-Morley apparatus or whatever, then V equals 0. Therefore, L, you got L times the square root of 1 minus, 0, which is just 1 times L naught. So L equals L naught. I mean, it's just so straightforward and simple
Yeah.
that there is no contraction in your frame, because in your frame, the relative speed with respect to you in your frame is 0. I mean, it's right there. And the fact that he couldn't recognize the equation, of course he doesn't get that.
Because math
Yeah.
sucks to him.
Math sucks to him. But it's right there. His whole argument falls to pieces. His whole stationary Earth, the apparatus contracting, Einstein saving the heliocentric model, that whole house of cards falls just from the equation that he couldn't recognize, because L equals L naught. There is no contraction in the frame you're in.
Whitsett likes to use the idea of maths when it's convenient to him.
Yeah.
Because
Well, he never applies it though. It's important to remember that.
Because
He's
remember
never applied math.
in that debate that I had with him, he was bringing up spherical
geometry of the eyeball.
Yeah, and so I asked him because it was relevant. What is Snell's law? He didn't know.
Yeah.
Because
Which is fine in general, but if you're making claims that you have to do these things, well, he should have already done those things so that he can speak from a position of knowledge on it.
Yeah.
He didn't do these things.
Yeah, you have to agree. He's a great debater. I mean, his ignorance in a lot of the topics and talking points, leads him to kind of stray the path of where you're trying to focus him in on. So,
well, yeah, he is a good debader. Because he has all these scripts. As MC, I mean, you know that he rehearses these scripts, and he says, he practices. He really puts a lot into what he does. I don't doubt that at all. And it's just that he relies so heavily on quotes, and he goes back digging to old dead scientists and old quotes, and he tries to frame his whole argument based around these quotes, which in my debate with him, that was his whole positive evidence. Remember, he was just had one quote after another. That was all the positive evidence he had in my debate with him. So it's like he's just using quotes, and he's hanging on the quotes like they're gold and they're like infallible law. Like he keeps going back to the same Einstein quotes with relativity now. And the same letter to Veracok, and the same, section 16 of Relativity, Special and General Theory, that book, right? He just keeps going back to the same quotes now. And he's just, with FTFE last night, he's just repeating the same things he's been saying to me over and over again through email. And he just doesn't get it. He just won't just look at the facts that are staring him in the face and admit that he's wrong about what he's been saying about length contraction and just move on. I think everybody'd have a lot of respect for him if he would just admit that.
Yeah, but once he admits he's wrong, he's then lost. And Whitsett is a person who doesn't lose, who can pull quotes and cite references from dead people from the 1800s to attempt to win. I would almost say prove his point, because he has no point to prove, but he's pulling things out in order to make himself look more intelligent than he is, in order to kind of baffle everybody he's debating with.
Yeah.
So.
A very widely used debate tactic that I find is to continue to say the same thing, because if you have to say a different thing, then you need new arguments, right? And so when it comes to that, I think that a lot of flat earthers, because there's only a limited number of arguments that they can make before they run out of arguments, they just keep on saying the same thing so that they can continue the debate forever.
Yeah.
And because that's how they make money. Or at least, I'm not sure if Whitsett is making money off this, but like people like Nathan, they make money off of this.
Well, Planner, I saw that in your debate with Whitsett and Dave. You guys got so frustrated, you started getting emotional. I noticed Dave was well, you could see that it was really beating him up, talking for 4 hours with Whitsett, and at the end it looked like he was going to die. But yes, that is a task to say the least.
So for reference, Whitsett doesn't have a job. I don't know if Kai does, probably not, because she's now got a kid. This is all he does. So if he were to ever have a problem with it, then his whole rice bowl is gone.
Yeah.
So
And I know he's not doing that well because he still blames me for that pulling out in the debate, right? And now I haven't said this to anybody. I think I'll say it live now because I'm tired of hearing Whitsett. He's still not letting it go. I actually donated $1,000 to help him out, and he won't even acknowledge that I did something
Wow.
to help. And I said, Whitsett, you never mention that. So I didn't want to have to mention it, but because he keeps bashing me live, whenever he's live streaming, he brings up that Bryant, did this, he pulled out, and it really devastated us. And I apologized to him, right? But he is really a month later, he still won't let that go. And even his last live talk, he brought it up again. I mean, before the baby, and I congratulated him on the baby and everything too. But it's like, I felt that was more than enough. And a lot of people I didn't owe him really anything, but because we never had a written contract. So, I mean, I just say that because I know he's maybe struggling a little bit, and I don't like to see that with anybody, but I think there are some flat earthers that are doing fairly well. I mean, but aren't there? I mean, maybe a few.
Dearth is probably the one that does the best because he gets people to install the app, and then I think there's a monthly that people forget about.
And upsells, lots of upsells there too.
I bought the app, by the way, guys. I had to check it out. It was $3.
I got it too.
Okay,
Well, I got it.
admitting. Okay, so the first step to recovery is admitting. So, guys, I'm glad we could start this session right now. But
Well, I
I've
got
heard
the
that
app.
it's a security risk.
Go ahead.
well, see, I have a
I've heard-
special cell phone made of technology rocks. So
Yeah,
I'm
that
good.
helps.
I'm good, guys. I'm good.
Where was it?
Apparently,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
apparently it shares your location with well, it doesn't tell you exactly where who you are and where you are, but it shares your location.
Yes, I know where
yeah.
all the flirfs around me live, and there's like a
They're not.
20-mile radius that are.
It's all the
Oh,
people
oh,
that
good.
no. He goes on these talk shows and he says to them, "Prove to me." That's the important. Prove to me that the Earth is a ball, and I'll give you 3 Bitcoin. Which, of course, he cannot be proven. He will reject everything. So it's a fake challenge. But he's like, prove to me that, and here's how you do it. You install the app, you watch a video every day for 20 days or whatever, and then you send me the proof, which he'll reject. That's his deal. So all of these blue dots, those are people that he tricked into installing the app. They're not flat earthers.
And then you have the orange dots. I don't know what those means, but there's a differentiation in the color of
Oh.
dots too. By the way, I don't know if what status I am. Yet.
Premium dots, maybe.
I may be an orange dot. I may be blue. I think there's a length of time that determines your dot color. But I think I'm up to orange dot now, guys. So I've made it
Wow.
there. 30 minutes. 30 days.
Have you rolled down to Antarctica? It's kind of fun to go down there.
Yeah, because you
There's
can't get
people there.
down to actually see Antarctica to see.
No,
what
There's
we-
people there.
No,
You
no,
can't.
like I've
No.
literally taken the app and from my Technology Rocks phone, and I've literally looked and went down into Antarctica, and I'm unable to actually see
Oh.
Antarctica to then view.
Did they
any-
update it?
Oh, they
Um,
must have taken it out because I did a whole short video exposing Dirt during our debate where he actually admitted that there were people in Antarctica on his app. If you haven't seen that, it's golden. I mean, it's just
I haven't. I just shared the link. I'd love to see that, but all I know is I
Well,
checked
see?
about a month ago before I defaulted my phone, and
You want some
and
coffee?
there was no such thing as Antarctica
Coffee?
on the
okay.
Flat Earth
He
Friend file.
updated after because I definitely exposed it. We talked about that. Remember on a whole talk we took that
We have to
video.
pause for a second. We've got a noisy cat here. It's a turtle, spelled with a silent P, of course. What are you excited about, kitty? Meow, yeah.
Maybe it's the fact that I'm here.
I don't know. You want some kiwi? You want some? Look at the.
Oh,
Watch it now. You gotta look at sharp claws.
No, he had
Maybe
no.
Turtle.
He was having nothing to do with that.
Maybe Turtle could smell the shrimps on the Barbie.
He could. He was getting hungry.
Turtle knows where you buy the cat food from. Same place you get your tape measures.
He is always hungry. That cat is just. Yeah. We don't feed him constantly. We don't just give him a bowl, but he'll You walk out here and he's sitting there looking at me like, hey, got some food?
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead. That was a rude interruption by the cat.
Yeah, well, we were just talking about Antarctica, how Dearth might have updated his app after, I don't know if it was because of me or us. Remember on FTFE, the birthday celebration, I shared the video of him all too happy to show us his people in Antarctica right on his app. He was, and when I was debating him, I was like shocked that he was doing that. And I realized I just need to keep quiet. It's like, just let him expose himself here, because he was bringing up Antarctica on his app and showing two people in Antarctica that he was in communication with.
Yeah.
And I'm like, am I really hearing this? Is he really admitting this right live on live stream? And sure enough.
Yeah. How
Listen, they
how
have
is
to
it?
maintain the ice wall. Okay, so there has to be somebody up there, security, to make sure nobody crosses the ice wall. So therefore, there has to be blue.
Well, but they were on
Antarctica.
they were on Rothschild Island or somewhere off of the wall. They weren't really
Oh.
inside the wall, yeah, or wherever.
Security.
I think
NASA security. Or dome repair. That's other.
So
also
now, Drunken
very
Bird makes a good point. Says flat earthers don't deny that Antarctica exists, but they deny that you can go there. Clearly, there are people there. Right?
Yeah.
The app tells us so.
I wonder if a lot of these people think that people are spoofing their location, because you can spoof your GPS location. That would be, if I was a flat earther, that's what I would say.
Yeah,
Good point. Good point.
that's a good ammo to
Or,
get.
or here's an even better thing. If I was Dearth, I'd say that the app is so good that people, that government people who go down to Antarctica use it for their job or something.
Oh, yes. Totally.
Yeah, I actually got a quote from the Polar Express. Actually, for $52,000, I could have gone to the South Pole. Like it was a 10-day all expense paid trip to the South Pole. And one of the days you got flown directly to the South Pole where you could actually touch the South Pole. And there wasn't a whole lot of restrictions. I'm like, do I got to do like a lot of paperwork? And they're like, oh no, well, they were like going to do a lot for you. And it was just $52,000. You could go there. There's cheaper ways to do it, I know, but they made it like an all expense. Like they were going to do everything, roll the red carpet out and just, keep you in like plush quarters in South America while you fly back and forth. But it's like, it's not hard to book a trip there. I mean, they just give me my credit card and I could have gone I could have gone in like February.
Mr. Beast just did a video there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they spent 50 hours in Antarctica.
Oh, wow.
Him and his goofy buddies.
But did they fall off the edge?
No.
Oh,
And so there's a flat earther that just he talks to me a bit and he's like, he wants to fly over the pole and he wants all these things. And I'm like, look, here's because Mr. Beast thanked the two organizations that helped them go. I'm like, here you go. Here's the organizations for you to contact so you can go there. They say they can't go there, but none of them have tried. Like, fill out the paperwork, see if they'll let you go. You do have to follow, a procedure. Have you been rejected when attempting to follow that procedure? No, they've not.
I actually have spoken to someone who has been to Antarctica, Landon Knoll, and I just checked, and he's actually on Discord right now. But yeah, he's been to Antarctica, and I think
send him the link.
I think he measured the
ice wall?
where the South Pole was, because it's not exactly where the pole.
Yeah,
they've put
the
it,
ice
South
shelf.
Pole.
The ice shelf shifts. and look at this. Clearview's like not credible YouTubers. Of course they're not credible YouTubers, and they were able to go. Hey, Clearview, go ahead, go there, Flurfs, go to Antarctica. If random YouTubers can go just because they have the money to do it, you too can go.
I mean,
Go ahead.
how much money did Bob raise? Maybe if he managed to raise a decent amount of money for whatever he was raising money for, you could probably raise enough money to go to Antarctica.
Yep.
Yeah, I should send them the link to this company did a lot. They pretty much did all the work for you. I guess they were set up to do expeditions there and take people because I'm like, it's like, really, that's it? They're like, yeah, just, it was really simple. They just had everything like lined up and you just simply, I mean, again, you had to do a little bit of paperwork or whatever, but it wasn't hard at all.
If you are the kind of person that is capable of being gainfully employed, you could actually get paid to go there. Now, I do realize that excludes a lot of flat earthers. And there's little need in Antarctica for somebody who has as the primary thing on their resume the taste tester in the returns department of the Urinal Cake Factory. But the flirts that don't have that as their resume could maybe go there and be a builder, because there's a lot of builders. But don't use a water level. Won't work.
Oh, man.
So guys, there actually is a YouTuber. He's a pilot. His name is Kelsey. He's the 7-4 gear.
Yep.
And he actually offered to fly flat earthers, anybody else who wants to fly over the South Pole for I think it was $10,000 for the whole charger it. You can take all the photos and videos you want, take all the data you need. But yeah, there's actually an offer out there to anybody who wants to.
Well,
fly
that
over.
expired. There was a time frame on that.
Oh, was there? Okay.
And of course the flat earthers poo-pooed the idea. They're like, no, we don't want to do that.
Well, we
and so
can't
right
fix
away,
it.
as soon as that came out, Jaron was out there saying, nope, don't do it. All fake, blah, blah. Effie Banjo, he's so dumb. Effie Banjo's so dumb. He's like, here's how they're going to fake it. He said, identical twins will take off from one location in an airplane, and then their twins will be on the airplane where it lands 12 hours later. He actually said that. That's how it's going to be faked.
That's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
If Effie Banjo, because you can pay to go on this thing. If Effie Banjo went on, they're going to find Effie Banjo's identical twin and put him on the airplane.
No true flirt would go on that flight, of course. That they would.
Wasn't there like a whole GoFundMe for like Virgin Galactic too to send like some flat earthers to space on either Virgin Galactic or Blue Origin or
one way only, of course.
I would be worried about putting too many flirts on a single plane because the density might sink it.
Oh, that's a good one. That was a good one.
And you definitely would not want any flirts to be in charge of navigation.
Oh no, absolutely not.
That would be disaster.
Even on a road trip, you don't want them in charge of navigation.
Well, no, they plug it into their global positioning satellite enabled phone, and then
with the Flat Earth app.
Because the Flat Earth app doesn't give you turn by turn directions, does it? You got to use, Google Maps or Apple Maps or Waze or something.
What do you mean?
Right?
A circle with the sun rotating around it in the resemblance of an Earth isn't good enough to spherically navigate any part of the globe to?
I don't know. But do flat earthers have a model? Do you have a model?
Well,
we don't have a model.
Earthers have a pilot.
We don't have a model.
That was good.
No, they don't.
That's good.
And they're all too happy to admit it too. They don't have a model. It's almost like
Now,
for them.
Some do. Some say the AE map is their model. Right? Some say this is their model. Some say that the wavy map from Jason and Ronnie is their map that does Pac-Man around the edges, and somehow north is just as wide as the equator and is just as wide as south. And what happens when you go north off the edge? With east-west, you go off the edge, you teleport to the other side, Pac-Man style or asteroid style. But what do you go off the top? PJ CNet's in the chat, and he's a big fan. PJ, what do Ronnie and Jeremy, Ronnie James, not Dio, and Jason, what do they say happens if you go north? He says because it's equidistant. It's not Ron Jeremy Stringer who's won. I know you're probably a big fan. Big fan you are. It's not it. All right. Do we have another one to watch here?
Oh, you can kind of, the second one, I mean, the third one, I mean, is just on the prime, showing that he doesn't understand prime notation.
Yes.
We can probably
Prep us for that. That's good though.
No, it's good because, again, length contraction, because he thinks that things contract in our frame, but we can't measure it. He clearly doesn't understand the idea of a reference frame. And this we can just watch the first maybe 20 seconds where he says well, I don't want to give it away, but you'll know when to stop it because he says something kind of funny on one of the.
All right, I'm looking for the correct. There it is. All right, I'm on that page before, but okay, here it goes.
Now, assuming that the Maxwell-Lorentz equations hold for a reference body x or k, then we find that they do not hold for a reference body k moving uniformly with respect to k. If we assume that the relations of a Gaussian transformation exist between the coordinates of k and k whatever, it thus appears that
k and k whatever. You notice there's a little apostrophe after that. That's not k whatever. That's k prime. Yes,
that's the other reference frame. So if he's just saying k and k, and what's funny is if you keep playing that, there's a whole paragraph between k and k prime. It keeps going back and forth, and he keeps saying k and k. He never once says prime. The only thing
all
he says
Gaussian coordinate systems, 1k corresponding to a particular state of motion is physically unique. Anyway, so he goes on. This result was interpreted physically by regarding k as at rest with respect to a hypothetical ether of space. On the other hand, all coordinate systems k moving relatively to k were to be regarded as in motion with respect to the ether. To this motion of k against the ether drift relative to k, were assigned the more complicated laws which were supposed to hold relative to k.
Oh my gosh!
So is it pronounced ether or aether?
Either or. I've heard. All right, so for reference, I like the long a sound because it differentiates it from the ether that you use to start your car. That's in starting fluid or clean your brakes or whatever. But a lot of people say it's just supposed to have an e sound. So
yeah,
it differentiates it. So I like to use the a sound.
Whatever.
Yeah, potato.
So if there was an ether, an absolute reference frame, then yes, Whitsett could be right that we could contract in the motion of our motion, right? Because there would be an absolute frame that we're contracting relative to. But this is what Einstein got rid of, the idea of an absolute frame. And in fact, it wasn't detected. Michelson-Morley null result was kind of evidence that this is the case, right? So the whole thing about k and k prime that he doesn't even know how to, obviously he doesn't get because he doesn't know what k prime even means, is that it's only between two non-co-moving reference frames that you see the time dilation or length contraction. It's never in your own frame. It's always relative to another moving frame. And because he obviously doesn't understand the idea of a reference frame, it's clear that he just doesn't get this notion of relative motion. I mean, that's the essence of relativity, right? That there is no absolute motion. That motion is always relative to another reference, another frame. And Einstein added to that, of course, the speed of light's invariant. That's where all the weird Lorentz transform, length contraction time dilations come from, is the fact that the speed of light stays the same for all reference frames. So the idea of a reference frame is key to relativity. So again, showing he's trying to school it, because he's done 3 episodes now on schooling Globers.
Yes, schooling Globers. He's telling us how Einstein thought.
Yeah, I mean, so I think this is important that people see this so that they realize that he's relying on quotes. If you watch his schooling Globers videos, all his evidence is Einstein quotes and other quotes. It's nothing, there's no equations, no math. It's all just quotes. He's hanging on words from Einstein, and he is cherry picking them because he's not following through and reading the surrounding text, right? And you and I, we've seen some of his quotes, right? How if he would just keep reading, it's sort of totally debunked in the next couple sentences what he's saying.
Yeah, because he won't read farther.
So to the last little clip, you can just play it. It's only like 5 or 10 seconds. This is kind of the finale here.
All right.
And I will admit that even I do not understand relativity. And I will admit that even I do not understand relativity.
I rest my case here. Yeah.
Well, the way that he said that is important. He said, even I. That shows how highly he thinks of himself. Right? He's saying, even I, because he is so incredibly smart and so well versed in this. But even then, he doesn't understand it.
Yeah.
That's the key part.
Yep. And so you feel relatively ready for the Discord? Because you know it's gonna be coming up.
That was a good one.
Yep. We got a super chat from Many Karen, but I want Planar Walk to read it, please. I sent you the message in Discord there.
What's Irish and sits on the deck? Petty O'Grant.
You worked hard to pronounce that again.
You see, I actually, the way that I managed to get how to incorrectly pronounce deck is by listening to how Americans actually pronounce it.
The incorrect way, huh? With the the I sound. Cretan Bull says, have you seen the new Mr. Beast video? He goes to Antarctica and experiences 24 hours of daylight. And so to your point, Bryant, they don't need to go to the South Pole to falsify flat Earth. They just need to go for 24 hours inside the Antarctic Circle and see the 24-hour sun.
Right.
So they could go on December 21st, just that one day, just on the edge of the Antarctic Circle, and see that when you look due south, you still see the sun. And on their dirt pizza map, it doesn't matter where you are on the perimeter of the dirt pizza, looking south, the sun could never be visible due south from you.
Right.
Never.
Soon, put that down. You're making me hungry.
For some dirt pizza?
Well, I was thinking about a pineapple pizza, the picture you always use for the flirps who join you, and a little bit of mango tea that would be delightful too. But yeah, so.
And don't forget the big shadow that light just bends around in the wintertime in the southern hemisphere, right? It's that big darkness that the light's going around. The sun is on the other side of the darkness, and somehow the light just goes right around that big circle of darkness.
Oh, the solution
mechanics are hard to maintain. Okay, that's not an easy job fixing the dome and all the mechanics that help the sun and the moon go around inside of the dome.
Right, because daylight is not from the sun, as Dirth said. I just posted that little shot.
Yes, and moon borrows the light from the sun. Exactly.
It's its own light. Yes.
I'm going to send the link to Landon. There may be a little bit of background noise on his end.
Okay. I'm sure he's at a party. Anyway, and do you know how they solved the problem, the dirt pizza problem? Austin has a get out of jail card, a get out of jail free card for that. He says this.
We don't have a model.
You see, so as soon as he says that, he has zero responsibility. All of the things that he used to say about the model, in fact, the couple seconds before he said that, are gone. And then if he needs to, in just a few minutes, he can bring up a model again. But if you talk about that model, he'll break this little one out.
We don't have a model.
So you can't actually refute anything he says, because he says it's a straw man to refer to the model that he talks about, because that he just talked about, in fact, because why?
We don't have a model.
That's why.
See, if you don't have a model, you've automatically lost, I think.
Yeah, you come to the horse race without a horse.
Well, just imagine this world if we had a flat Earth School of Applied Science that had to create all of our inventions.
Don't give them ideas.
No model. No model.
So here we have Clearview, the flurf in the chat, says, today's scientists, this is a quote from Tesla, today's scientists have substituted mathematics for experiments, and they wander off through equation after equation and eventually build a structure which has no relation to reality. Now, of course, that is an appeal to authority. right there. You are
Yeah, so-
using the authority of Nikola Tesla to try to say something.
And someone that had
Um,
beautiful drawings of the globe in his notebooks. If you read Tesla's notebooks, beautiful drawings of the globe. He just with his shoe, anyway. So he was.
But
I always find it funny that flat earthers like quote him. It's like he drew pictures of the globe in his drawing.
he talked about rockets orbiting the Earth. But so it's a stolen concept there. But the bigger thing is just saying that isn't a refutation of empirical measurements or experiments. If you think that they're wrong, then let's see. If you think that they're wrong and you want to claim that something's wrong,
you make a positive claim of specificity, you have the burden of proof of specificity.
That's right, Austin. Thank you very much for that. So Clearview, if you have a claim, then go ahead and present it. But a cherry-picked quote from Tesla who doesn't support your position isn't going to help.
Also, Tesla did have some weird ideas as well.
Yeah,
He did, and he was wrong about a lot of things.
Yeah, like you see that with a lot of woo peddlers, how they will try to bring up Tesla because Tesla supports the idea of an ether or something. And it's like, well, that's one thing where Tesla was wrong. We don't say that Einstein was right about everything. Einstein did get some things wrong.
Yeah.
Planer said Tesla.
All right, let me, I got a couple things here. We got Many Karen wonders if it's fairy with an A-E-F-E-A-E-R-I-E or fairy F-A-I-R-Y. And I would pronounce it fairy either way. Matt Patak says relativity made simple. The speed of light is constant in every reference frame or all reference frames. To do so, it will change the distance and time in every other reference frame. Right? Is that I added the other because he came back with a correction. So I'm trying to apply his corrections.
So just so you know, I mean, just to be ready for the Discord, in relativity, what's it's really getting on now is that we claim that it's only an apparent effect when we see the contraction from our non-co-moving frame. But no, it is a real effect. It's a real measurement. And like the twin paradox and some of these, like where you have a non-inertial frame turn around and come back, that shows that it is a real effect. So we're not saying it's only an apparent effect. And
Yeah,
he's been hung up on this with me and through the email. He thinks that I'm saying it's just an apparent effect. But no, I'm saying it is a real effect, but it's not a real effect in the way that you are saying it's a real effect with it.
It's different for every different observer as well.
Yeah.
So it's not like there's a singular effect on your reference frame that when you're in it, right? It's not that the arms of the Michelson-Morley experiment compressed by a certain amount in your reference frame. It compressed by a certain amount different from every other certain amount for every other reference frame.
Yeah. I set up a little graphic, and we don't have to necessarily go over it here, but where I did 5 different like rockets passing by the Michelson-Morley apparatus, and they were all going different speeds. And one was 0.87 C, which gives you about half contraction, right?
Yeah.
The other was 0.95 C, which gives you 1/5 contraction. Then 0.995 C gives you 1/10 contraction. So all these rockets are seeing different contractions of the Michelson-Morley arm. So that's why I keep telling Whitsett, it's like, well, relative to what, Whitsett? We're contracting in relative to what? Because you could have, 10 different rockets go by at 10 different speeds, and they're all seeing different contractions, right? So it's not, if it was in your frame, but you couldn't measure it, then relative to what? What you're saying, Whitsett, implies an absolute reference frame. And this is exactly what Einstein did away with. I mean, it's the antithesis of relativity, actually, what Whitsett's saying.
I will say, don't let Whitsett know about the ladder in a barn paradox.
Oh yeah, the ladder in the bomb. That's a funny one. It is. This is why it is a paradox, right? Because the ladder, it's because we can't agree on simultaneity. So a 20-foot ladder going through a 10-foot barn, right? From our frame, where it's going by really fast, it looks like the ladder is inside the barn because the barn doors open really fast and close, right? Then it's inside and they open again. But see, from the reference frame of the moving ladder, the doors are not opening and closing at the same time. So the idea of simultaneity, we see, this is why we see length contraction, because we can't agree on simultaneity between non-co-moving reference frames. Meaning, if there's something moving past me and I'm trying to measure, to get a measurement, you have to be able to measure both sides at the same time, or it's not a measurement, right? If the meter stick is in our frame, we don't have to worry about it, 'cause it's sitting on the table and it's always going to be the beginning and the end of the meter stick, right?
Yeah.
But if something's moving past, and this is what we can't agree on, is that you're seeing one side before the other, and the time dilation and length contraction are just perfectly matched in a way to keep C invariant, so that the speed of light between our non-co-moving frames is the same. And it's not, I mean, it's really, it's hard to wrap your head around some of these weird ideas, like the ladder and the barn paradox. I sat there it's like, it's so strange. It's like, man, that's just really weird that both doors can be closed and a 20-foot ladder from our frame can be inside of a 10-foot barn. I mean, if it's going at 0.87 speed of light.
Yeah, got to be moving quick.
Because that gives you exactly 1/2. If it's 0.87, that's about 1/2 is the Lorentz factor there.
So maybe a little more.
But yeah, it's a puzzle. I mean, so in a sense, it is a real effect, but it's only real between two frames that are moving relative to each other, taking measurements. Because making a measurement's a real effect, right? When you measure your furniture to see that it's going to fit in your house in a certain spot, that measurement's a real. That's a real thing that you're doing. You're measuring something. So it is not. It's not intuitive, because we live in a three-dimensional world, and to see what's happening is space and time are rotating into each other in 4 dimensions. There's like hyperbolic trigonometric type of functions. They're not rotating normally like a rotation, like we normally think of rotation. But it's not, that is a real effect. Time and space are really getting mixed up with each other in really fast non-co-moving frames when they're going fast enough. And it's like, this is what makes it difficult to
it's how he's able to fool the people that he fools.
Yeah.
Because they don't understand it. They hear him say these things. They think he's smart when he says it. None of them understand it. And you can tell this because that when they start to bring these things up, you simply say, explain it in your own words. And they can't. They have no clue. The stuff that he does about gravity and electrostatics, ask people to explain it in their own words. They're like, they have no clue.
Isn't it funny he doesn't bring that up as much anymore? Have you noticed that, MC? It's like,
well, he only focuses on his current thing. Yeah. So somebody was saying that was it Judy? Somebody was saying that he's working on his next one with Gleam. So as soon as he finishes that one, that's all that he'll talk about. And you'll see all the little Whitsett parrots out there on Facebook and TikTok and everywhere saying,
I kind of already know what it's going to be. I sort of know what it's going to be. It's going to be more of a Neil Lorentzian. It's going to be more of a Neil Lorentzian thing, because right now he's trying to teach us our model. And I think once he realizes that we're just showing him he doesn't understand our model,
it's Brenda, by the way.
He's going to jump to his model. He's going to jump to, and this is what Gleam has been saying, all this Neil Lorentzian stuff. If you follow some of his, long 500 blown out comment threads. And
I love Gleam when he comes in and he fills multiple comments with 500 comments. It's just great for the YouTube analytics.
All right, guys, sorry to interrupt you, but let's turn this into a party. Okay, so I want to take a poll with everybody here. Okay. Who is your favorite Neil? So we'll start with Planer, and then we'll move on from Planer. Who is your favorite Neil?
I don't really have a favorite Neil.
What are we talking about?
Okay, so somebody whose name
named
is Neil. Who is your favorite person?
I only know like 3 Neils, and that's like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Neil Armstrong, and Neil Young.
And Neil Diamond. Neil Diamond's a good one.
I am Neil Diamond.
There you go.
So Neil Diamond over Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I don't really have a preference for any of these Neils.
What? You don't have a favorite Neil?
Not really.
Kiwis.
Huh.
All right, Toon, who's your favorite Neil?
Well, I'm thinking that Bryant's is Neil Diamond.
He's got some good. I was raised on some of the 8-track tapes of Neil Diamond's. I'm just kidding.
Actually,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
actually, Neil Gaiman. Because someone in the chat just remembered. Just reminded me.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to use that one as well.
Okay, I'm voting Neil Patrick Harris.
That's a good one. It's a good one. Doogie.
That's Neil.
Doogie Howser.
Yes, Doogie and the other one with Neil Patrick Harris and the other movie with Neil Patrick Harris.
All right. Brenda says, to be super clear.
What about Landon?
Neil Landon?
Oh no, what about Landon? We've kind of ignored Landon. He's been here for a while.
Oh, he's here, Landon. Welcome, Landon. He wasn't on screen, so I didn't know.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on your time zone and latitude and preferred meal. It's Landon Knoll. I'm currently at a restaurant, so pardon the background noise there. Your astronomer and guide to our favorite universe, and I really appreciated hearing rational discussions about relativity, one of my favorite subjects. And I think Neil's, I have a personal preference for Neil Armstrong, given that the Neil, the other Neil, the really good science communicator, and I have a long-standing disagreement regarding Pluto, but we do that in a fun, professional way, not a Twitter nasty way. So
I take it you're of the Pluto as a planet persuasion.
Pluto is a dwarf planet, and dwarf planets are planets, just like dwarf galaxies are galaxies, and dwarf stars are stars. Dwarf planets are planets.
And does that make
100% with you? 100%.
But
Pluto's still a planet.
Does that make Gimli a human?
It could be. You know, dwarf planets, I guess, are dwarfs are dwarfs, so that's fine. But yes, that's the current status of the IU sort of dug itself out of a hole because in their 2004 Prague debacle, they had a resolution that was not according to the bylaws, passed by a small minority of the people that were still in the chamber while everyone else was out in Prague having a good time.
Oh,
and
did they entice them out with alcohol?
Well, yeah, and that particular thing said that the only thing that were planets were the 8 things orbiting our sun, and that all those other extrasolar round things didn't count as planets, and a number of other problems that it had, where it would have with the process they fixed in the next 4 years called dwarf planets, Earth and Jupiter and Neptune would have been demoted as planets using those same rules. So we fixed it, but it's important to understand that astronomers try to embarrass themselves about every 10 years or so, and that was our thing back then. So if everyone asks you, is Pluto a planet? You say yes, it's a dwarf planet. Actually, it's a double dwarf planet. Pluto and Charon are both planets. They orbit each other at a common point in the center, so it makes it a double dwarf planet.
Ooh.
And if you use the physical definition of a planet in terms of what it is rather than where it is, our solar system has about 115 planets. The orbiters people wanted to have a planet being defined as where it is. It's in the vague thing clearing the orbit, but that creates a situation where if a planet gets ejected from the solar system, there's like 2 planets, get near each other, and they have this tidal whip, and one, gets flung into the star, the other one gets flung out of the solar system. It, according to the orbital people, it ceases to be a planet because it's no longer orbiting a star. But the other side of the coin, you get excess of 115 planets in our solar system, and bodies like the moon and Jupiter's Galilean moons and so forth, Titan, all become planets. They become dwarf planets. So So it still is an issue as to how far you go down the road. But the big thing is to say, if an object has enough gravitational mass to basically crush itself into roughly a spherical shape, it can be oblong because it's thin and that sort of thing, and it's orbiting a fusor, or it's orbiting a body that orbits a fusor, then it's considered a planet. If you're not quite sure, it's a probable planet. It's really small. It's a dwarf planet. If it's big and icy, it's an ice planet over so on down the line. But yes, if anyone asks you, is Pluto a planet? It rains on the other Neil's joke, because he likes to say get over it, so forth. But my debate with Neil, I claimed to Neil that he would demote hydrogen as an element because it's too light. So demoting Pluto because it's too light just doesn't make sense. We tease each other for that sense, but the official thing now is Pluto is a dwarf planet. Dwarf is a modifier for a planet. It's actually a double dwarf planet. So,
awesome.
Immigrant. But thank you very much for talking about relativity. It's an amazing topic. In fact, next month I'm going up into Canada to a high school to teach kids about relativity. I'm going to try to get to them before they learn all this Newtonian stuff and teach them what gravity really is. Not this sort of force thing that happens instantaneously, but a curvature of space-time. And so my attempt will be in the classroom to show them curvature and to get them to understand why something goes thunk when you let it go and it falls to the floor. It's an amazing thing that Einstein came up with, motivated by Maxwell's equation. Maxwell's equations, the electromagnetic stuff, sort of implied a speed, but it didn't imply a speed that was variable. It implied a pitch speed. And that's one of the things that Einstein did, is that if the speed of light is the same in all reference frames, no one is preferred. In fact, one of the things you mentioned previously, I would say, is that you have all, they call it paradoxes and so forth. Does the ladder fit in the bar and that sort of thing? And the answer is that there is no one preferred frame. No one is absolutely right. No one gets to rule and say, my observation is law across the universe. Everyone's frame is equally valid. And physics says you can have what appears to be contradictory things, and it's okay. I mean, we do it in quantum mechanics with things and particles being waves and particles, and both are correct and both are valid at the same time. Same thing with relativity. Your reference frame and my reference frame is equally valid. And in particular, this, and I like you said that this relativity stuff is not some fictitious thing that is out there if you happen to go past the speed of light. It's one of the things I'm going to try to teach these high school students is relativity is not for the extreme. It actually is here and now, and that the reason why when I let go of the ball, it drops to the floor is because of space-time curvature. And if you graph it properly, you can see the actual curvature. So you talk about, I throw a baseball or cricket ball up in the air, it goes up for a half second, comes back down a half second, and the answer is why. And the reason why is due to space-time curvature. It goes in a straight line, and that straight line, you think, is, that you're taught in high school that is gravity and Newton's, G and 1 m2 r squared thing. But in fact, it's due to space-time curvature. And in fact, if you understand that ball that throws up, goes to the top of the arc and comes back down, it's going in a straight line, you begin to see curvature directly. It's not some magical thing that happens in extreme cases. It's here, it's everywhere here now. But end of my relativity graph.
Well, thank you. I have a question from, if you would, from Digital Demonic Davros. He says, what is F MCFF. What's it mean? And that's how he met you, thanks to Dave McGinnis.
MCFF. Let's see. So there's probably some symbols. MCFF. Try to think.
No, there's no symbols in how he wrote it.
Yeah, MCFF. I don't know if it's the margarita I've just drunk, or it's just that I don't know what it is. I have no idea. It sounds like I would say it's snarky answer would be it's a sequence of letters, but it's got to be more than that. Hope it's not your password.
Yeah, it should not be your password. All right. Well, that
certainly shouldn't be sharing his password. Anyway.
Yes. I'm sorry if you could perhaps give a better context.
Well, I'll see if he clarifies that. Will you be going back to Antarctica?
Yes, I hope so. I hope to go. I've been to the South Pole 8 times.
Okay.
And I'm told that on my 10th time I get a free coffee.
A free coffee.
Yes.
But did you keep your coupon? You have to have the coupon sheet stamped.
No, I go in, buy something at a gift shop each time, so they know I've been there. But yes, there actually is a gift shop at the South Pole Station, and they don't accept cash because there's no credit card links and so forth. So they accept dollars, euros, British pounds, and I think even Canadian dollars, and they don't care which currency you do.
So I can,
but yes,
use
That's
New
a
Zealand
proof
dollars.
of flat Earth.
I'm sorry.
So I can use New Zealand. Thank you.
Sorry, Planner, you go.
Yes.
You go. My apologies.
I think
So-
you should, yes.
I apologize again for the background noise on that. But yeah, I'm hoping to go back again. The last time I was there, I did actually a live broadcast. We set up a satellite link, orbiting a polar orbiting satellite, while our satellite was overhead. Did some experiments, that sort of thing. Usually, when I'm there, I'd like to make call. Like I had a classroom with some kids, and we did some experiments. Usually, when part of my job for the team that I help head is for me to find the South Pole at the moment. South Pole moves. It's like there's a drift.
What technique do you use?
3 meters a year. Well, several techniques. I start off with differential GPS. I index it by also the previous pole marker to validate that. I also use positions, known positions in the known drift, and then I also use the Shackleton's mirror method. Well, the Shackleton's mirror method only gives you about accuracy of about a degree or so. The challenge in trying to use things like a sextant at the South Pole is that the high horizon sometimes is very difficult to see. The particularly if you get cloudy conditions, the ice as a mirror reflects the clouds.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to see the horizon with a sextant method. So what you do instead is you take you pour liquid water that's been heated into a bowl and let the bowl freeze, so you have a mirror, and then you do a double angle through the sun. Basically, you're looking at the sun through a mirror to where the sun is up ahead, and that will give you a set. But I'm not a skilled mariner. I mean, I imagine the mariners of the 1800s could have nailed it down much more precise, but I actually do that. So differential use GPS and drift and markers are the method used. And I can get within about a centimeter. It's about a sugar cube size.
Wow.
And like basically take a picture of my finger where I pull off all the layers except for one layer of glove and stick on the ice and say right there, and have them take a picture and stick my gloves back on because it's really cold out there.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, it's important to go actually stand on where the South Pole is right in the moment, because if you go all that distance and you miss it by a meter or two or so forth, it's or yeah. Go ahead.
I do have a question. How many tongues have been stuck to the South Pole?
Well,
How many triple dog dares have been issued?
well, I know that. So actually, there actually are a couple of polls. One of the more classic ones that I believe people have probably been dumb enough to try to stick their tongue to it, is the ceremonial poll. When they first returned back to the South Pole after Amundsen was there in 1911 and Scott in 1912, the next time someone arrived at the South Pole was in 1957, when they established the South Pole base and that has then continued its presence. So the ceremonial pole, the candy stripe pole, the nice reflective ball on the top, is where the South Pole was at the time they came back, and that it's a nice machine ball. It's really good for taking pictures. It's got a nice candy stripe thing like a barber stripe. So and it's much better than the North Pole, because at the North Pole there you're on sea ice and the ice is moving and you never could stay in one spot because the current is moving at several knots. But the South Terminal Pole is a nice candy stripe pole and stays there. The actual geophysical South Pole, that's the spot of rotation of the Earth where all the time zones come to one spot. Every year at New Year's, and they'll do it in a couple of days, they stick a metal stake into the ground at the position of the pole, and they measure it. And the people that wintered over make a thing on top of the stake, a particular type of diagram or something they machine over the winter time. And then it comes in their summertime, it gets stick there. So every year you have another stake involved. The actual physical South Pole is about a half kilometer away from the ceremonial pole. And so
that's pretty far.
But it's a nice thing, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, it moves about 10.3 meters a year.
Okay.
So after 50 years or so, then, it's much of that is the ice motion, but some of that is continental drift. Some of it is the Earth is wiggly wobbly and the spin axis kind of moves around a little bit. But yeah, it's important. If you go all the way effort and you miss it by that much, you can imagine my hands up showing you about like a half meter or so. It'd be really sad. I've known somebody who went to the South Pole. They thought the ceremonial pole was the South Pole, and then they had a heart problem, had to be rescued. And I didn't have the heart to say he missed it by about a half kilometer. But
hopefully they're not watching.
No, I hope not. But anyway, yes, it's a fun place. There's a pole station there. There's a nice warm room. The toilet that's within reasonable walking distance of ceremonial pole. That actually is heated by solar panels during the daytime, which is 6 months. And inside that toilet, there is all kinds of really excellent graffiti. I mean, people who do graffiti in that toilet, I mean, it's really quite a classic sort of stuff. There's some really fun graffiti inside there.
I'll definitely have to check that out just for the graffiti.
Hey, Landon, can I ask Landon a couple of questions on that?
Sure.
Can you go down again, Landon?
Hit the bathroom.
Can you take Dave's Flat Earth app and just log in when you're down there? Can you install?
Yes, please.
And if you can go during a 24-hour sun, I mean, if you could somehow, because Flat Earth has always complained we don't have enough 24-hour sun type of panoramic.
I mean, I've only gone in the daytime. One of the times I want to go at night, and this is an important thing. Last time I just did another high school talk where at the South Pole you have 1 day and 1 night a year. So the sun rises on the first day of spring, southern hemisphere wise, stays up for 6 months and sets on the first day of fall. So you get one sunrise in the spring, one sunset in the fall, and so you get a 6 month day and 6 months night. So when you talk about overnighting, it's a long commitment. So I've only been there during the daytime, and it's the maximum that the sun is above the horizon is about 23.5 degrees. So you're in a situation where it's 24-hour sun. That's anything below the Arctic Circle during that period of time, you get periods where you get total sun. But yes, total sun is something you do in since we're there out in the ice, not inside a base, scouting for meteorites. We have to actually be in tents out on the ice, and we take advantage of the 24-hour sun. We also take advantage of the ozone holes, because the way we heat our tents is that we have a tent that has special material that's ultraviolet transparent. So the ultraviolet light, when you're in the South Pole, you're under the ozone hole, and you get your high altitude, very, very dry humidity, 5%. So the sun's ultraviolet rays are extraordinarily strong. You do not want to expose your raw skin to the sun for long, because you'll burn very, very quickly. Same thing with your eyes. You don't want to get snow blindness from UV. So our tents are made to be transparent to ultraviolet, because nice energy rays come in and then reflected inside of infrared. We have a double layer tent to give you sort of greenhouse effect. The ultraviolet comes in, gets absorbed, re-radiates, and so you can have almost a 50 Celsius degree difference between inside the tent and outside the tent for that reason. But you can also get a bad sunburn.
I mean, have you documented some of your trips? Because this just debunks the flat Earth. I mean, it just totally, just being there. I mean, I have photos online, and other things like that. I did a thing with Steve McRae where I did it live. We did a live thing there with Q&A and stuff. I've done it with kids and so forth. It's a fun place. It is very emotional to get there, because it's a big effort. But when you arrive there, it's probably the closest I'll experience to what it might feel like being out of space, where you're in this bubble, where you've got all these layers of stuff on you. You've got I usually have 3 layers of like on my face, for example. When I leave South America, I put on dark glasses and leave them on until I return. And then over that, I have goggles. Over that, I have a face mask. So I sort of look like Darth Vader with stuff. But again, it's so important not to get the strong ultraviolet light during the daytime. Of course, in the nighttime, it's a different story. But nighttime, it gets rather uncomfortable.
So, Lyndon, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Oh, at what temperature is it the same in Celsius and Fahrenheit?
-40, which is a reasonable temperature in South Pole land. I mean, the warmest I've had at the South Pole was -12, and the coldest was -12. And the coldest I've experienced was -57. So it varies depending upon.
Now, is that C or F, Landon?
That's the Scylla unit. C. I'm not metrically challenged, so it's a.
Okay. I want to, everybody else listening, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page and same unit.
Usually with my team, I give the weather report in Kelvin because it makes it seem colder or warmer.
That's kinky.
When you say it's like 220 Kelvin, it sounds really warm.
Hot, yeah.
but yeah, but usually the big thing with a pole is not so much temperature, because there's a Swiss expression that says there's not such thing as bad weather, there's just inappropriate clothing. And so you go down to Antarctica, you have the right gear and clothing and layers and so forth. What you find that's probably the hardest is the high altitude. The air is extremely thin at the pole, at the plateau. Part of it is because the elevation, right? So the elevation above sea level at the South Pole is around 3,000 change meters. But because of the Earth's spin as a sphere, sorry, flat earthers, the atmosphere bulges, forces cause the atmosphere to bulge at the equator and flatten at the poles. So even though you might be 3,000 plus meters near the pole, barometric pressure-wise, it's equivalent to being about 5,000 meters above sea level.
So
And
the
when you're
atmosphere is an oblate spheroid as well.
Yes,
Makes sense.
and comfortably so. So then when you're flying, the planes that we fly in, DC-3s, are not pressurized because pressurization causes metal fatigue, and at low temperatures, that's a bad thing. So you end up experiencing very, 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 very low barometric pressure. So typically I'll have my blood oxygen levels at the South Pole around 74%. For stuff, you have to work hard at not getting altitude sickness because unlike Everest, where you get altitude sickness and you come down the mountain, there you're 2,000 kilometers from low elevation. So you just work like very, very diligent to avoid altitude sickness. So that's probably the biggest problem is altitude sickness. Second biggest problem is all this ultraviolet light. Even your photography, you need to put on a UV filter on top in your camera because the strong UV light will cause focusing problems. The typical type of modern lenses we try are designed to try to keep the visible frequency range focused on the sensor, but as you get into the ultraviolet, that goes out of focus, and so if you don't have a UV filter on your camera, you get this sort of haze or fog, around edges of things because it's not quite focused there. So you have to use UV filters as well as making sure. So you're going out with your companion, whoever is assigned to you. You can never go out alone. You make sure that you check your companion. They check you to make sure you're not having exposed skin because you'll burn extraordinarily quickly.
If I could,
altitude, high UV.
Quick, Noel, this is a future armed guard penguin.
Yeah.
This dog's name is Penguin.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Penguin.
There you go.
Now, penguins are those things that are those aquatic birds that are on the coast of Antarctica. The 5 Ps that we'll talk about. You ask about penguins, and penguins are birds that sit at the edge of the Antarctic continent because they're swimmers. They're food sources in the water. They don't as much as the March of the Penguins might want you to leave, they don't venture very far inland. There's no food in there and they die from the cold. So penguins are the 1P. Of course, people ask about polar bears, and that's a northern hemisphere thing. There's no polar bears in the southern hemisphere. The perpetual sun, perpetual cold, and the final P has to do with urination, which is a challenge at low temperatures. Let's just say that.
So is the reason why penguins always around the coast because they are guarding, they need to have the AK-47s at the ready in case anyone comes near them?
I suppose so. I've encountered penguins in South America and at the edge at like Murdo, but I've never seen them armed. They have flippers.
Are there any armed forces around the edge, around the wall? Are there did you notice any armed forces at all?
Or any AK-47s?
Like any?
There are military people that show up. They're doing training exercises. For example, the last time I was there, the Indian Army sent a team down to do practicing of childhood cold weather rescues. And they were practicing because the Indian Army does things, up in a high altitude Himalayas and so forth. So they were down in Antarctica practicing for stuff. Although Antarctica itself is sort of like an international park. The Antarctic Treaty that governs everything that happens from 60 degrees south to the pole essentially says, every country that claim to have a territory has set aside or put it in total abeyance, where no one's pressing their territory claim, and you're supposed to be nice because it's nice to be nice. And so there are military people down there doing training and stuff, but they're, you know, like everyone else, you're all in the sort of thick of things. And believe me, when you're on the ice with people in the area, you know, you're all together trying to go there and survive. It doesn't matter what nationality it is. And so that, you know, wonderful times been there, like in Glacier with, you know, people from Norway and Korea and Kenya and so forth, you know, police specialists coming down there with all their businesses. It's a really nice international time, and you find fascinating folks with fascinating stories down there. But
So
there's
there
only,
aren't armed guards at the South Pole, is what you're saying?
No, in fact, none of the military people I had any weapons. They were there doing training and practicing, like, you know, things like rescues and stuff of people involved.
Well,
So,
the
but
flat earthers
I've never seen any weapons in Antarctica, to my knowledge.
well, the
I'm sure
flat
you
earthers
want-
will just say that that's because the CGI is getting better.
Well, yes. So no, but it's not a big thing. Yeah. So I'm not sure how well classical weapons will work down there anyway, because you're at low temperatures.
Oh, yeah.
The like mechanical things you have to be careful. Usually the vehicles you have you can't use the usual sort of, let's say, a grease and oils, because they become sort of like tar sludge stuff at low temperatures. And so instead you have vehicles that use like carbon powder as their lubricants, because of the cold stuff down there.
So I've a follow up from Digital Demonic Davros, who didn't really help much, but that was the FFMCF. He said it's fatty MC something. I
Okay.
don't know what that is.
Well,
all right.
Respond to that, but there it is.
Yeah. Landon, we should let you get back to your restaurant here. But thank you for dropping in. Maybe we could do something a different time. The interview you did with Planner Walk was very interesting. So maybe somebody could put that in the live chat.
And as I say, Antarctica is my favorite non-populated continent. There, summertime, the population is about 1,000 people. Wintertime is around 200 or 250. But it's a nice, you know, it's nice sparsely populated. But on the other hand, it's one of those things where if you're within 100 kilometers of somebody, you feel obligated to go over there and say hi to them, check them out, and trade stuff, because if you were in trouble, you'd want somebody else to come over near you and check out. So it's a very friendly place. Lots of interesting people there. If you want to go there, I would take a look at ALE, and Arctic Logistics Enterprises. ALE does, you know, they do a lot of logistical transporting of materials to various bases, and you can go along with them. They have a center in Buenos Aires, Chile, where they can fly and be on glacier and get on ice, and then they'll, you know, for additional fees, they'll take you to the South Pole if you want to. So you might check out ALE, you might check out Travel Quest International, another group that goes down there on occasion. It's really an amazing place to go there, and it is not cheap, because the amount of resources necessary to get you there and the backup support. Every person that's down there has a whole team behind them, and we go with enough food, fuel, resources that if you have to stay there overnight, which is, you know, beyond 6 months, you do. So you end up, you know, going with a lot of supplies there, and it costs a lot to send something down there, but it's definitely worth it. I can recommend that highly if you have an experience to go down there and check it out.
Hey,
I mean, maybe sometime we can go and do a more detailed talk on Q&A on Antarctica, but
yeah, that'd be great.
it's really real. South Pole's an amazing place. People down there, amazing place, and we're fortunate to have this as part of our Theory Universe. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. That's
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Landon.
All right. Ciao.
Enjoy your dinner.
Thank you, thing. Bye.
All right, bye.
Something that Toon reminded me of was that you've been watching me like for a long time, because the Landon interview was way back when I got into the when I started getting into the flat Earth stuff.
Yeah, dude, we were mushing up Flat Out Hero 4 years ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I had
4
something
years.
I wanted to say about Flat Out Hero earlier, but I've forgotten what it was.
Well,
Oh, it was about the about maps. Someone said about about road maps. Because I remember you had a debate about road maps with Flat Out Hero.
oh, he's so dumb. He thinks road maps have to be accurate to the millimeter because people can take it down the street and turn left without. He just doesn't realize that if the map has it off by 10 feet, you can figure out that the road doesn't go there.
Yeah. When I am walking down the street, I often go, okay, so I need to turn right in exactly this amount of meters.
Oh. All right, I got a couple things to read here. We got Stringer News 1 says, what's all this about ladders going into barns? Back in my day, it was a train going into a tunnel. I can't talk like Grandpa Simpson very well, I guess. Joe Berean says, I reject your reality and substitute it with my own. However, I refuse to define my reality. Therefore, however you choose to describe the reality that I claim to observe, I get to claim a straw man. Well done encapsulating Austin. Well done. Then we've got Mercedes F1 fan says, could I be invited to the live stream? Signed Mango Tea. Mango Tea, who is the
tea flavor.
Who was the Poe from was it last week, the week before? Tell you what, I have this one. Get ready. Then starting in less than 20 minutes, I'm on the Tartaria server. Then I'll be on Hugh Jars's live stream. This video description has a web page on my website, has links to all these videos. And then at 2 a.m. my time, I will begin my final 2 hours of the marathon. If you're still awake, Mango, you can come in then. But I think it's going to be more Australians interested in that one.
So I do have a question, right? Because you said about someone encapsulated Austin. Can we encapsulate Austin, but then throw away any information that comes out, or any information that we put in? Yeah, like on the surface of a black hole, you mean? No, about like, you know how encapsulation works in C#, right? C# isn't a language. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you gotta
This fake
explain it
C#
to
stuff.
C# is a fun language. I don't know what you're talking about. It's definitely not Java.
Three-dimensional arrays again to prove a flat Earth planar.
I mean, I can create three-dimensional arrays.
Yeah. I suppose what we could do is we could create the instance of Austin Whitsett, encapsulate it, put a variable, and then set the variable to null.
Exactly.
Let the garbage collector do its magic.
Wait, is it a string null, a real null, or an integer null?
Integer null?
Isn't integer null just 0?
I don't
That
know.
was my question. What is the data format of this null?
Well, if it's in C#, it's well defined, right?
Would be an object null, right?
Yeah. Unlike good old fashioned C, where you can put whatever you want in.
Well, what's null divided by 0 then?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. All right. Matt Patak says not dwarf planets. They prefer little planets. You gotta be polite to them, or they'll... Seriously, I did a video a while ago where I said, I'm gonna say it again, and whoever got upset at me is gonna get upset at me again, but I'll have to live with it. I said it's like being the tallest midget. Like you're still a midget. Anyway, Dark Plate says, hail. Garlic bread close to space proved flat Earth wrong. It does falsify flat Earth indeed. And then here's the final one from Joe Berean says, were the heavily armed guard penguins friendly?
Proof.
And into the chat. So Clairview is like, does he have an unedited video? Like it's the classic flat Earth dual standard, right? Clearview doesn't require an unedited video for the other pieces of evidence, but this one must be an unedited video.
It's funny because recently I was covering Mitchell, right? And I remember all the flat earthers were going on about his video of the Foucault's pendulum, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't have an unedited video of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the dual standard of evidence.
Yeah. I want him to go back to that place because surely the pendulum has been repaired by now, right?
Could be. I mean, you're just across the water. You just like jump in a little boat and row across or something.
Yeah, but the penguins. The penguins sometimes try to defend Australia as well. But
apparently, yeah.
am thinking about going to Palmerston North at some point because apparently there's a Foucault's pendulum there.
What's that? Explain.
In the University of Sciences, Massey University or something.
Is this in Kiwiland, in Middle Earth, there where you live?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, there's a Wikipedia page that lists all the Foucault pendulums. It is list of Foucault pendulums. Super creative.
I think that one in Antarctica is still there too, according to what it's the one that he did was his name Walker, or the guy that did the study down there. I shared that in my video on Foucault pendulum because it was debunked Antarctica at the same time as fucking stationary Earth.
Well, let's see. In the cylindrical stairwell beer can. So I don't know if it's still there or not. It's from the articles from 2014.
He said he wanted to go back. He left it in place, and but maybe it has been taken out, but it might still be there.
Could be. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So New Zealand, there's one at Massey University.
Yeah.
There you go.
I believe it's in Palmerston North, which is in the North Island. So not the island that I'm on, but I should probably go to the North Island and spend some time there at some point.
So I went to, there's a couple in Minnesota. I went to the one at, I think it was McAllister College. I went and looked at it. It just swings back and forth. So I didn't do it to like film it. I just did it to scope it out. So yeah, and Brenda's correcting me on the way to pronounce a French person's name. There's no possibility that I will get it right, no matter how hard I try. Brenda's asking, is it foo or faux? I don't know. It's French.
You see, Mitchell pronounced it Foucault, right? And so I assumed that Mitchell had got it right. Then,
what? You assumed a Flurf got something right?
And then I hear it actually pronounced. I'm like, okay, it's pronounced Foucault. So
that Ivy League professor during that little video, he's got like 1 million views. He actually said Foucault, but then he corrected himself later in the video, said Foucault. So I think he realized he mispronounced it the first time, and he's like an Ivy League professor, so we can't really hold.
Well,
it
yeah, then he's definitely pronouncing. They make mistakes too.
But it was clear
Just
that
like
he
all
knew
of
it was
us.
Foucault, so he that's why he caught himself and said Foucault instead of Foucault.
There's
Maybe we need a foobar pendulum.
that was the one that Mitchell saw. It was definitely foobar. All right. Well, Jose was whining earlier. Jose JG Gonzalez. He thought Landon wasn't spicy enough. So, but the spicy will be happening soon, because I will be on the 24/7 Tartaria cosmology server in a little bit, and apparently they've got a lot of people in there, so it's going to be crazy.
Oh, that's
So
gonna be
are you going to be eating a pepper while doing so?
Eating a what?
Eating a pepper, like bell pepper or something.
Oh, because bell peppers are spicy now.
Well,
in what world are bell peppers spicy?
I mean, like maybe a ghost pepper or something, but
Okay,
you
all
know,
right,
the
that's
general
better.
sort of.
They sell those at Maynard's, right?
They don't. No produce at Menards. No produce.
I mean, I still have this stuff.
Yeah, Carolina Reaper.
Yeah, sauce.
Well, go ahead.
That's Flurf juice.
Go ahead. Just to have a little bit, a little nip. Just tip it up.
It's been a while since I've had some of this, so I'll just put a bit of on the finger.
Does it have habaneros in it? Has it got the really hot peppers in it?
Carolina
Well,
Reapers.
It's got Carolina Reaper in it. Although it's not pure Carolina Reaper, otherwise it'd probably be unbearably spicy. But here we go.
Nope. I'm claiming CGI. That's
Was
false.
that an unedited video?
Yep, completely unedited.
You feel good on relative. You feel good on relativity, MC. There, you're solid.
It's
really not that hard.
No, it's not. It's there's different reference frames. Well, I wrote up a little. I should get that prepped up here. I wrote a little thing in Python that calculates the reference frame, the different reference frames. There it is, right? The onlinegdb.com calculates for the different reference frames. And I just did 3 reference frames and they're all different. So
yeah, good.
So, and as far as I can tell, because it's confusing to even try to understand what Whitsett's point is. As far as I can tell, he thinks that there is a preferred reference frame.
Yeah. Well, he thinks the only way it can be a real effect if it's actually contraction in our frame, but we can't detect it. He doesn't get that you can have a real effect from non-co-moving frames moving relative to each other and be able to observe a contraction. And that's not he doesn't think that's a real effect. So that's why he kept going in circles with FTFE about.
Yeah.
And FTFE kept saying the right answer correctly. And he just doesn't get it. He doesn't think that it can be a real effect unless it's actual contraction in our frame, even though we can't measure it, right?
Well, he doesn't get to declare what relativity says. If he wants to make some other claim about something other than relativity, he can.
He wasn't able to get off of that wheel. He just kept going in circles. He just kept asking FTFE. So it's not how, so what you're saying is it's not a real effect. It's like no, FTFE was like, no, I didn't say that at all. And because he thinks it's yeah.
I would hate to see Whitsett try and team up with Nigel.
Nigel Cheese Hands?
Because Nigel was saying that because you can convert light to energy, right? EMC squared means that it must have mass, right?
That light must have mass?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because of E equals MC squared. However, the thing that he actually should be using is e squared equals
It's the full
open
equation.
brackets. Yeah.
Yeah.
And however, Whitsett would say that because light is in the reference frame, you can't use light's velocity or light's momentum or something. So therefore, that would destroy Einstein. That would probably be what Whitsett would say.
He doesn't think light travels. Actually, he's clearly has said in one of his talks.
Oh yeah.
Light is just doesn't have a speed. It's just right a manifestation of the ether, right? It's just, and it doesn't make any sense, because if it was just instantaneous, then the whole universe would just be
Yeah. Then how did we define the meter?
Yeah, it's so again.
I mean, I remember saying about something about radio waves in the debate that I had with him. I can't remember what he said.
Radio waves are photons too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he never talks about that because he's just always trying to debunk our model. So if you can get him into his model, that's where you guys have to watch
All right, so here's the one of the ideas that I had was to try, and I don't know if I can pull this off, to say, look, if you're going to talk about flat Earth, you can only talk about flat Earth. You don't get to talk about the globe when you're trying to prove flat Earth.
A good point.
Right?
Yeah.
Or to just go in, because they all say perspective, and just say, all right, the sun could never set. Here's my application of perspective. Where's it wrong? And of course, they'll never. They have nothing. They can't say where it's wrong.
Yeah,
I think we're both mentioned in a tweet earlier today.
Ooh.
It was, you should issue a challenge to flat earthers. Talk about flat Earth without mentioning the globe. And,
yeah, that was
you were mentioned. Yeah, I was mentioned. FTFE and Mr. Simple were mentioned.
Yep, there it is.
That would be something if that happened. They can just talk about flat Earth.
Well, Jose did that a while ago, and they didn't know what to do. They couldn't stop. Like they tried. A few of them tried apparently. I didn't see that one, but I thought that was a genius idea, Jose, or this person who tweeted it. So, Matthew Rain says the burden of spice is on the person frying the bell pepper. So there you go. All right, I'm gonna actually end this one here pretty quick, and then I'm gonna hit the bathroom and then prep for the next one.
Fun.
So, Industrial Nerd, thank you for demasking your ponus. Bryant, thanks for joining. Planar Walk as well, and Noel Fielding, thank you very much. Wait a second.
Yeah.
Landon Noel Fielding,
Yeah.
From the IT crowd.
Yeah.
No. Landon Knoll, thank you for joining us. Right. So everybody, there's more fun to come. You're only half done for the night.
Yep.
So let me get my outro ready. Here it is. The outro. Everybody, thanks very much. We'll see you in a little bit.
Yep. Take care.
I'll probably play a bit of the Flat Earth game.
It didn't go. I got to re-kick it. There it goes. See ya, everybody.